The moment the clock slipped past 8:47, her future began to fall apart in silence. Not with noise, not with chaos, but with the slow, suffocating weight of knowing she was running out of time and still choosing to stop. Maya Collins stood at the edge of the city plaza, the sharp sting of fresh blisters burning through the soles of her heels. Her resume folder was pressed tightly against her chest, fingers aching, knuckles pale from the grip. Around her, glass towers rose like indifferent giants, their mirrored faces catching the morning sun and throwing it back coldly, perfect, unreachable. Somewhere inside the tallest of them, just 6 blocks away, her life was waiting. A conference room, a polished table, a panel of strangers deciding her worth in under 30 minutes. Her last chance. She checked her watch again. 8:48 a.m. Her breath caught. The interview was at 9, not 9-ish, not 9:30, 9 sharp. She had rehearsed this morning 100 times in her head. The elevator ride where she would slow her breathing. The handshake she would keep steady. The calm smile she would force even if her chest screamed. She had chosen her outfit carefully. Not too bold, not too forgettable. Neutral, safe, professional. Because this job wasn't ambition. It was survival. 3 months of overdue rent, student loans that never slept, hospital bills stacked neatly on her kitchen counter, her mother's name printed on every reminder like a quiet accusation. This job meant dignity, and she was late. She broke into a run, dodging commuters with practiced urgency. The city hummed around her with cruel efficiency, heels clicking, foams buzzing, trains roaring underground. Everyone else seemed to know exactly where they were going, their lives moving in straight, confident lines. Everyone except her. Her lungs burned. Her heart pounded. She tightened her grip on the folder, as if letting go would make everything vanish. Then she heard it, a sound so small it nearly disappeared beneath the roar of traffic. A soft, broken sob. Maya slowed. Her instinct screamed at her to keep moving. Her logic shouted numbers, minutes, seconds, consequences. But her heart answered with something older, something louder. She turned, near the fountain, just beyond the rush of moving bodies, stood a little girl, no older than 4. She was painfully small against the vast plaza. Tiny hands clenched around a worn pink jacket that dragged near the ground. Her curls were tangled, as if fingers had run through them too many times in fear. Her eyes, wide, glassy, terrified, searched every passing face with desperate hope, as though one of them might suddenly turn into home. No one stopped. People moved around her like water around a stone. Not unkindly, not cruelly, just unaware. Maya hesitated. 9 minutes. She could still make it if she ran. The little girl's lip trembled. One tear slipped down her cheek, then another. Then she whispered something so quiet, it barely carried over the sound of splashing water. "Mama?" The words shattered something inside Maya. Her feet refused to move forward. She told herself someone else would help. A security guard, a parent, anyone more qualified, anyone with more time. She took one step away, forcing her body to obey reason. Then the child cried out again, louder this time. That sound cut straight through logic and fear, piercing a place shaped like memory, like loss, like the night her own mother had collapsed on the kitchen floor, while Maya, still a teenager, had stood frozen, heart racing, terrified of choosing wrong. She turned back. "Hey," Maya said softly, crouching until she was eye level with the child. "Hey, sweetheart, are you okay?" The girl shook her head immediately. Fresh tears spilled free. "I can't find my daddy." The words were simple. They landed like a blow. Maya's chest tightened. "It's okay," she said, even though she didn't know if it was true. "We'll figure this out. What's your name?" "Lily." "Hi, Lily, I'm Maya." She smiled gently. "Can you tell me where you last saw him?" Lily sniffed, lifting one shaky finger. "He was there, then he wasn't." Maya scanned the plaza again. Businessmen barked into phones. Tourists posed for photos. A street musician tuned his guitar. No one looked frantic. No one looked like a parent who had lost a child. Her phone buzzed inside her bag. She didn't need to check it to know. Another buzz. She swallowed and glanced anyway. Interview reminder. 9 a.m., final round. Her stomach dropped hard like falling. She forced a smile and stood, extending her hand. Okay, we'll find him. Lily took it without hesitation. Her hand was small, warm, trusting. That trust hit Maya harder than any rejection letter ever had. They walked toward the security desk near the subway entrance. The guard's chair was empty. A handwritten sign on the glass read, "Back shortly." Maya exhaled sharply, frustration rising. Daddy said not to talk to strangers, Lily said suddenly, looking up with wide seriousness. Maya smiled sadly. He's right. You're very smart. I'm just helping until we find him. Lily studied her face carefully, weighing the promise. Then she nodded. Another minute gone. Maya checked her watch again. 8:53. Her chest felt tight, her palms damp. She imagined the panel glancing at the empty chair, whispering politely, drawing a quiet line through her name. She imagined the email that would come later. "We regret to inform you." She pushed the thought away and knelt again. "Do you know your daddy's phone number?" Lily shook her head. "Do you know his name?" "Mr. Daniel." Maya almost laughed, not because it was funny, but because it was heartbreakingly useless. "That's okay," she said gently. "Do you remember what he looks like?" Lily's face brightened slightly. "He wears suits, and he talks on the phone all the time, and he smells like trees." Maya blinked. "Trees?" Lily nodded firmly. Like the park, a man in a dark suit rushed past them, phone pressed to his ear. Lily's eyes widened. "Daddy!" She tried to run, but Maya held her gently. The man disappeared into the crowd. "That's not him," Lily whispered, her voice cracking. Maya's heart sank with her. Her phone buzzed again. This time it was a call. She didn't answer. She couldn't. She lifted Lily into her arms, despite the weight pulling on her aching shoulders. "Okay," Maya said, voice steadier than she felt. "We're going to the police station 2 blocks away. They'll help us find him." "But I don't want to go," Lily whispered, clinging tightly to her neck. "I know," Maya murmured, "but it's safe. I promise." Each step felt heavier than the last. With every block, Maya felt herself slipping further from the life she had fought so hard to reach. She pictured her resume, the careful formatting, the late nights rewriting sentences, the fragile hope she had allowed herself to feel. She wondered if doing the right thing always meant losing something else. They reached the station at 8:59. Her phone vibrated violently now, as if screaming. She stepped inside. The officer looked up. "Can I help you?" "Yes," Maya said, breathless. "This little girl is lost. She can't find her father." The officer stood immediately. "Okay, sweetheart, what's your name?" "Lily. And your dad's name?" "Mr. Daniel." The officer nodded slowly. "All right, we'll take care of you." Maya set Lily down reluctantly. Lily's fingers tightened around her sleeve. "Don't go." Maya crouched again, her heart breaking open. "I have to, but you're safe now. Okay?" Lily's eyes filled again. Maya pulled her into a brief hug. "You're brave. Your daddy will find you." "Thank you," Lily whispered. Maya stood and turned away before she could change her mind. Her phone showed 9:01. It was over. She stepped back into the street, the city roaring around her, chest hollow. She walked without direction, letting the truth settle. She had missed it. Not because she was careless, not because she was unprepared, but because she stopped. Her phone buzzed one last time, a voicemail notification. She didn't listen. Across the city, in a sleek black car stalled in traffic, a man in a tailored suit pressed his phone harder to his ear. His voice strained for the first time in years. "Find her," he said. "Find my daughter." And in that moment, though Maya had no way of knowing it, the choice she made at 8:48 that morning had already begun to rewrite both of their lives forever. And in that moment, though Maya had no way of knowing it, the choice she made at 8:48 that morning had already begun to rewrite both of their lives forever. Maya kept walking. She didn't look back at the police station. She didn't slow down. She didn't allow herself to imagine Lily's face when her father arrived. She just walked. The city blurred around her, cars rushing past, voices overlapping, the mechanical rhythm of a morning that did not pause for quiet losses. Whose footsteps echoed hollowly on the sidewalk, each one carrying her farther from the building she was supposed to be inside, farther from the version of herself who still believed timing could be negotiated. Her phone vibrated again. She stopped beneath a traffic light, its red glow washing over her face like a warning she had already ignored. For a long moment, she stared at the screen without touching it. Then, with a tired breath, she pressed play. "Hello, this is HR from Belmont Holdings. We noticed you haven't arrived yet for your 9 o'clock interview. Please call us back immediately." The message ended. Maya laughed, not because it was funny, not because it was ironic, but because the pain had nowhere else to go. She deleted the voicemail and slipped her phone back into her bag, as if removing it might quiet the noise in her head. There was no point in calling back. She had learned that lesson early. Explanations rarely softened disappointment. Being late was the same as not showing up at all. Doors like that did not reopen for people like her. She crossed the street, watching her reflection stretch and fracture across the glass of storefront windows. She looked smaller somehow, thinner, like the city had quietly decided she didn't matter today. By the time she reached her apartment building, her legs ached and her throat burned with unshed emotion. She climbed the narrow stairs slowly, each step heavy with finality. When she unlocked her door and stepped inside, she leaned against it, pressing her forehead to the peeling paint as if the world outside might rush in and crush her if she didn't hold it back. The silence hit immediately. No traffic, no voices, no purpose. She slid down until she was sitting on the floor, resume folder still clutched in her hand. For a long moment, she didn't move. Then she opened it. The pages were pristine, perfect margins, careful wording, years of effort distilled into neat, black ink, bullet points polished until they no longer felt like her life, just proof that she had tried. She closed the folder again. Her chest tightened painfully. Maya pressed the heel of her palm against her eyes and breathed slowly, the way her mother had taught her years ago, back when panic attacks still frightened them both. "Tomorrow," she whispered to the empty room. "I'll figure it out tomorrow." But even as she said it, she knew tomorrow would bring the same questions it always did. How long can you keep trying before trying becomes foolish? How many times can you choose right before it costs too much? Across the city, the questions were different, but no less urgent. Daniel Hart stood in the center of the police station, his presence altering the room without a single raised word. His suit was immaculate, but strain pulled at his posture, shoulders tight, jaw set, eyes searching. He knelt in front of Lily, lowering himself until they were eye level. "I'm so sorry," he said softly, pressing his forehead to hers. I turned around for 1 second. Lily's arms wrapped around his neck, clinging with the force of fear finally released. "The lady helped me," she said. Daniel froze. "The lady?" he asked quietly. "She held my hand," Lily continued. "She talked nice. She didn't leave me." Something tightened sharply behind Daniel's ribs. "Did you get her name?" he asked. Lily paused, thinking hard. Maya. The name landed heavier than it should have. The officer cleared his throat gently. "Sir, your daughter was brought in by a young woman. She left before we could get her information." Daniel stood slowly. "She left?" "Yes," the officer said. "She seemed upset." Daniel closed his eyes briefly. Most people wouldn't have stayed. Not during rush hour. Not when time mattered. He had built his empire on understanding human behavior under pressure, on predicting when people would choose convenience over cost, self over sacrifice. And yet this woman, this stranger, had stopped. "She smelled like soap," Lily added suddenly, "and she was sad." Daniel's jaw tightened. "Did she say why?" he asked. Lily shook her head, but she was brave. The word echoed loudly in the quiet space between them. Daniel straightened, slipping instinctively back into control, but something fundamental had shifted. "Can you check nearby buildings?" he asked the officer. "Security cameras, footage, anything." The officer nodded. "We'll try." Daniel stepped outside. The city unfolded endlessly before him. He looked up at the towers dominating the skyline. At his tower, Belmont Holdings, the same building Lily's helper had been running toward. His phone buzzed. A message from his assistant. "Interview panel waiting. Do you want us to start without you?" Daniel stared at the screen. "No," he typed. "Cancel the rest of my morning." A pause followed. "Everything?" "Yes," he replied. "Everything." Back in her apartment, Maya sat at the small kitchen table, hands wrapped around a mug of tea that had gone cold without her noticing. She hadn't cried yet. She recognized the delay. The calm before emotion broke loose all at once. A knock came at the door. She frowned. No one ever knocked. She stood slowly, every muscle tight with uncertainty, and opened the door just enough to look through. A woman stood in the hallway, dressed in a tailored coat, a tablet tucked beneath her arm. Her eyes were sharp, assessing, but kind. "Miss Collins?" she asked. "Yes?" "My name is Eleanor Price. I work for Belmont Holdings." The words didn't land immediately. Maya blinked. I missed the interview." Eleanor smiled faintly. "We know." Maya's stomach dropped. "This isn't a reprimand," Eleanor said quickly. "I'm here because someone asked me to find you." "Who?" Eleanor hesitated, then spoke carefully. "Our CEO." Maya stared at her. "That's not funny." "I'm not joking," Eleanor replied. "He asked for you by name." Maya's breath caught. "Why?" Eleanor glanced down at her tablet. "He didn't explain, only said you helped his daughter this morning." The room tilted. "The little girl?" Maya whispered. "Yes." Maya leaned against the doorframe, her pulse racing. "Is she okay?" "She's fine," Eleanor said gently. "Because of you." Silence stretched between them, thick, unreal. "Mr. Hart would like to meet you," Eleanor continued. "Today." Maya shook her head slowly. "I don't understand." "You will," Eleanor said, "if you come." Maya looked back into her apartment. The thin walls, the unpaid bills, the fragile life balanced on effort and hope. Then she thought of Lily's small hand wrapped trustingly in hers. The fear, the relief. She grabbed her coat. "Okay," she said, "I'll come." The car ride felt unreal. Maya sat stiffly in the back seat, watching the city slide past, her reflection flickering in the tinted glass. Questions crowded her mind. Was she in trouble? Was this a formality? Had she embarrassed herself beyond recovery? The car stopped in front of Belmont Holdings. The building looked taller up close, heavier, like it understood what it represented. Inside, everything was quiet, controlled, polished. Eleanor led her through corridors of glass and light until they reached an office overlooking the city. Daniel Hart stood by the window. He turned as they entered. Maya recognized him instantly, not from magazines or headlines, but from Lily's description. Suit, phone, presence. He looked at her like someone seeing a photograph come to life. "You're Maya," he said. "Yes," she replied, voice steady despite the storm inside her. He nodded once. "Thank you." The words were simple. "Waited." "For what?" Maya asked. "For choosing my daughter," Daniel said, "when you didn't have to." Maya swallowed. Anyone would have helped. Daniel's eyes softened slightly. "No," he said quietly. "They wouldn't have." He gestured toward the chair across from him. "Please, sit." She did. He studied her, not coldly, not clinically, but with focused curiosity, as though trying to understand the moment that had shifted everything. "I'm told you missed an interview here this morning," he said. "Yes." "Why?" Maya met his gaze without flinching. "Because Lily was alone." Daniel leaned back, exhaling slowly. There it was. No excuses, No performance, just truth. Silence settled between them, not awkward, but charged. Finally, Daniel spoke. I built this company believing talent reveals itself under pressure, he said. Today, you proved that character does too. Maya's throat tightened. I don't know what this meeting is about, she said honestly, but I don't regret what I did. Daniel smiled then, not the kind seen in boardrooms, the kind reserved for something rare. Good, he said, because neither do I. And as the city stretched endlessly beneath the windows, Maya felt it clearly now. The day she thought had ended at 9:01 had only just begun. And as the city stretched endlessly beneath the windows, Maya felt it clearly now. The day she thought had ended at 9:01 had only just begun. Daniel's heart did not rush. That alone unsettled her. In Maya's experience, powerful men filled silence with dominance. They spoke first. They spoke loudly. They tested, cornered, measured. They made you feel late, even when you arrived early. But Daniel remained still, hands folded loosely, gaze drifting toward the skyline as if the city itself were a ledger he was quietly balancing. You know, he said at last, voice calm, people often thank me for the opportunities I give them. Maya nodded once, unsure whether the words were a warning or a confession. But today, Daniel continued, turning to face her fully, I'm thanking you for something no amount of money can purchase. Her chest tightened. She shifted slightly in her chair, grounding herself. I just did what felt right, she said. Daniel's mouth curved, not into a smile yet, but into recognition. That's precisely the problem, he replied. Very few people still know what that feels like. Eleanor excused herself with a brief glance, the door closing softly behind her. The sound echoed, leaving the room suddenly smaller, more human. Daniel gestured toward the resume folder resting on Maya's lap, its corners softened by nervous handling. May I? She hesitated for just a beat, then handed it over. He opened it slowly, not skimming, not scanning. He read like someone who understood that paper could only hint at a life. His eyes paused on dates, on titles that suggested progress without promise, on gaps explained neatly but not fully, years where survival had taken precedence over ambition, unpaid internships labeled experience, promotions earned without raises, stability postponed. You're qualified, he said simply. Maya hadn't realized she'd been holding her breath until it left her all at once. But qualifications, Daniel continued, closing the folder and setting it carefully on the desk. Only tell me what someone can do when things go according to plan. He looked up. Today things didn't. Maya's voice wavered despite her effort to steady it. If this is about the interview, I understand if it's too late. Daniel studied her, not for confidence, but for honesty. Why do you assume this meeting is about a position? She blinked. Isn't it? No, he said. It's about a person. The words landed heavier than any job offer ever could. Daniel stood and walked toward a side door, opening it without explanation. Come with me. Maya followed, heart beating fast, curiosity overtaking fear. The corridor beyond was different, quieter, warmer, less glass, more texture. Family photographs lined the walls, not curated press images, but moments frozen mid-laughter and motion. Daniel, younger, unshielded. Lily, in nearly every frame, smiling freely, held high above shoulders that hadn't yet learned to carry the world. They stopped outside a smaller room. Inside, Lily sat on a couch with a coloring book, legs swinging idly. She looked up. Her face lit instantly. It's her! Lily shouted, dropping the crayons and scrambling off the couch. Before Maya could react, the child was already there, arms wrapping around her waist with fierce certainty. You came back, Lily said, pressing her face into Maya's coat. Maya's eyes stung. She knelt automatically, holding Lily properly this time. grounding herself in the warmth and weight of a life that had trusted her without question. "Of course I did," she whispered. Daniel watched, something raw crossing his features, gratitude tangled tightly with guilt. "Daddy," Lily said, pulling back to look up at him. "She's the brave lady." Daniel nodded. "I know." Lily took Maya's hand again, tugging gently. "Sit with me." Maya glanced at Daniel. "Please," he said. They sat together on the couch. Lily flipped open her coloring book with pride, pointing to uneven shapes and bold colors. "That's you," she said, tapping a tall stick figure beside a smaller one. "And that's me." Maya smiled through the tightness in her throat. "I like it." Daniel cleared his throat softly. "Lily, sweetheart, would you like some juice?" "Yes. And maybe show the nurse your picture?" Lily nodded, hopping up, pausing only to hug Maya once more before skipping out. The door closed. Silence returned, but this time it carried understanding. Daniel sat across from Maya, closer now. Not across a desk, across a truth. "You see," he said quietly, "my daughter has everything. Security, privilege, protection." He paused. "What she doesn't always have is presence." Maya nodded slowly. She understood immediately. "I turned my back for less than a minute," Daniel continued. "A call, a deal, something that could have waited." His jaw tightened, the mask slipping. And in that minute, she was alone. Maya didn't interrupt. Some confessions didn't need answers. "I've spent my life building something immense," Daniel said. "And today, it nearly cost me the only thing that matters." He looked at her then, not as a CEO or strategist, but as a father stripped of armor. "You gave her what I failed to in that moment." Maya's voice was barely audible. "She just needed someone." Daniel nodded. "Exactly." The silence that followed wasn't empty. It was full, heavy with alignment. "I want to offer you something," Daniel said at last. Maya's pulse quickened. "A job?" "Yes," he replied. "But not because you earned it by missing an interview." She stiffened. "I'm not interested in charity." Daniel smiled, not offended, but impressed. "Nor am I. This isn't charity. This is alignment." He leaned forward. "I want you on my executive development track, direct mentorship, full salary, benefits, and flexibility." "Flexibility," Maya repeated. "My daughter," Daniel said, "needs to grow up seeing people who choose others without being asked." Maya searched his face for calculation, for manipulation. She found none. "You don't know me," she said. "I know enough," Daniel replied, "and I will know more." Her hands trembled slightly. "This feels unreal." "It felt unreal to Lily too," Daniel said, standing alone in that plaza. The comparison steadied her. "What if I fail?" Maya asked. Daniel stood. "Then you'll learn," he said, "like the rest of us." He extended his hand. Maya stared at it. This wasn't the handshake she had rehearsed in mirrors and late nights. This was something else entirely. She took it. His grip was firm, respectful. "Welcome to Belmont Holdings, Maya Collins," Daniel said. Her vision blurred. Before she could respond, the door opened and Lily peeked inside. "Are you staying?" Maya looked at Daniel. He nodded once. Maya smiled at Lily. "Yes, I'm staying." Lily clapped, joy unfiltered. And in that moment, Maya felt something she hadn't felt in years. Not relief, not triumph, but alignment. As if the universe, for once, had not punished her for choosing compassion. But life, she would soon learn, doesn't reward goodness without testing it. The weeks that followed moved quickly. Her role was demanding, intense, the learning curve steep. She worked long hours, absorbing information like oxygen, determined not to waste the chance she'd been given. Daniel did not hover. He challenged her, questioned her, pushed her until doubt crept in, then pushed a little more. "You think too small," he told her during a late meeting. "I'm learning," she replied. "Learning isn't shrinking," he said. It's expanding. She went home exhausted and strangely empowered. Lily became a quiet constant. Drawings left on Maya's desk. Occasional lunches, gentle reminders of why she was there. One evening, as Maya prepared to leave, she found Daniel still in his office, lights dimmed. "You should go home," she said. "In a minute," he replied. "You could go now." He smiled faintly. "You sound like Lily." Maya smiled back. Then his phone rang. He answered. His expression changed. "Yes," he said slowly. "I understand." He ended the call. "What is it?" Maya asked. Daniel looked at her, something unreadable passing through his eyes. "An acquisition," he said. "One that threatens everything we've built." Maya straightened. "How?" "They want control," Daniel replied. "And they don't care who gets hurt." The weight of his words settled between them. Maya realized then that this world, this power, came with shadows she had never imagined. And she wondered, quietly, whether the same choice that had brought her here would soon be demanded of her again, at an even greater cost. And she wondered, quietly, whether the same choice that had brought her here would soon be demanded of her again, at an even greater cost. The acquisition moved faster than anyone expected. Within days, Belmont Holdings felt different, like a body holding its breath. Meetings sharpened, voices lowered, smiles tightened into polite disguises. Even the hallways felt colder, glass reflecting faces that looked alert, guarded, ready. Maya felt it everywhere, in the way assistants paused before answering questions, in the way emails arrived marked urgent at hours that once belonged to sleep, in the way Daniel stood at the center of it all, calm on the surface, storm beneath. "They want majority control," Daniel told her one evening as the city dimmed outside the office windows. The skyline glowed amber and blue, distant and beautiful, as if untouched by what was happening inside. "They'll restructure, layoffs. They'll cut anything that doesn't profit immediately." Maya's stomach clenched. "People will lose their jobs." "Yes," Daniel said quietly, "thousands." She thought of the faces she now recognized. Analysts who brought her coffee without being asked. Custodians who waved at her in the mornings. People whose lives were tethered to salaries that barely allowed room for fear. "And Lily?" Maya asked. Daniel's jaw tightened, the answer already heavy in his silence. "They'll use her too. For optics, for leverage." The words settled into Maya's bones. She had entered this world believing integrity could survive anywhere if it was strong enough. Now she was staring directly at the cost of believing that, at how easily compassion could be framed as weakness when power was involved. "There is another option," Daniel said slowly. Maya turned to him. "What kind of option?" "I step down," he said, "sell my shares, walk away." Her breath caught. "You built this." "Yes," he replied, "and I can burn it down by leaving." She stood abruptly, the chair scraping softly against the floor. "That's not an option." Daniel studied her. "Why?" "Because it saves you and sacrifices everyone else," Maya said, voice steady despite the emotion surging beneath it. "That's not who you are." A pause stretched between them. Then Daniel smiled, small, tired, real. "You're learning faster than I expected." Maya exhaled shakily. "Then tell me what you need." Daniel didn't answer immediately. He walked to the window, staring out at the city he had shaped in ways both visible and unseen. "I need someone they can't buy," he said finally. "Someone who sees people before numbers." Maya's heart began to pound. "They want to meet you," Daniel continued. "They believe you're manageable." Maya almost laughed. "I need you in that room," he said. "Not as my employee, as my conscience." The words settled heavy between them. "If I say no?" Maya asked. Daniel nodded once. "I'll understand." Maya thought of the plaza, of Lily's small hand in hers, of choosing compassion without knowing the cost and choosing it anyway. She straightened. "I'll do it." The meeting room was colder than the rest of the building. Glass table, steel chairs, faces sharp with calculation, men and women who spoke in percentages and futures stripped of names. Maya sat beside Daniel, spine straight, pulse loud in her ears. They talked numbers, growth, control, risk. Then one of them leaned forward, eyes settling on Maya. "You're new," he said flatly. "Why should we listen to you?" Maya didn't flinch. "Because I'm not afraid to walk away," she said calmly. Brows lifted. "You should be," he replied. Maya met his gaze without blinking. "No, you should." The room shifted, subtle but unmistakable. "You want control," Maya continued, voice steady and grounded. "But control isn't power. Trust is. And you won't have it if you destroy the people who built this company." Silence stretched. Daniel didn't intervene, didn't rescue her, didn't lead. He let her stand in her truth. "You think compassion is weakness," Maya said, "but it's the only reason this company survived long enough for you to notice it." She paused, letting the words settle. "You can buy shares," she finished. "You can't buy loyalty." The man across from her leaned back slowly, expression unreadable. The meeting ended without raised voices, without slammed doors, without conclusions written in ink. But something had cracked. Days passed. Then an email arrived. The acquisition was withdrawn. No headlines, no applause, just quiet relief moving through the building like a long-held breath, finally released. That night, Maya found Daniel sitting alone in his office, lights off, the city glowing faintly beyond the glass. "It's over," she said softly. Daniel looked up. His eyes were tired, but lighter. "You chose again." Maya nodded. "I think that's who I am." Daniel smiled, the weight finally lifting from his shoulders. "Then Belmont is better for it." Weeks passed. Life settled into a new rhythm. Maya stepped fully into a role she had never imagined, one that allowed her to shape culture, not just strategy. She listened fiercely, advocated quietly, protected without spectacle. She learned that leadership wasn't about being the loudest voice in the room, but about knowing when to speak and when to stand firm in silence. Daniel stepped back where needed, forward where it mattered, and Lily thrived. One afternoon, Maya found her waiting outside her office, legs swinging, a drawing clutched tightly in her hands. "What's this?" Maya asked, kneeling. Lily held it up proudly. 3 figures stood beneath a bright sun. "That's you," Lily said, pointing. "That's Daddy, and that's me." Maya smiled. "We look happy." "We are," Lily said simply. Daniel watched from the doorway, something unspoken passing between him and Maya. Gratitude, respect, trust. Later that evening, as the building emptied and the city softened into twilight, Daniel walked Maya to the elevator. "You know," he said gently, "you never did get that interview." Maya smiled. "I think I did." He nodded. "You passed." The elevator doors opened. "Thank you," Maya said, "for trusting me." Daniel shook his head. "Thank you for reminding me who I was before I forgot." The doors closed. Maya stood alone as the elevator descended, heart full, grounded in a way she had never known. She thought back to that morning, to 8:48, to the choice that had seemed so small and cost so much. She understood now. Some moments don't ask what you want. They ask who you are. And when Maya stepped out into the night, the city felt different. Not because it had changed, but because she had. She had missed a job interview, but she had found her place. And for the first time in her life, she walked forward knowing she was exactly where she was meant to be.